Welcome back to the Lookout. It's 10 p.m. on the 31st of August, and we've got an update for you on the Caldor Fire. Got some mapping that was done from a flight at 8 p.m., and so I'm going to take a quick tour through here and catch up on what we didn't cover earlier. So not a lot has changed in the overall footprint of the fire since the earlier shots we showed you. Significantly, there's not a lot of growth, or any growth that I can see on the imagery, in the main developed areas that the fire jumped across in Christmas Valley and Meyers. There's a bit of growth. The yellow is the growth since the last mapping. So the fire's spread a bit. What happens a lot when we have fires that are driven by wind and slope is that when the fire hits the top of the mountain, there's no more hill for it to run up. Fires like to run uphill. So this fire ran out of slope, and that took some wind out of its sails. Good thing, it buys everyone a little breather there. The big worry right now is just that we would have a change in our wind direction, and the fire then with all this open, what we call open flank or uncontrolled fire line. If the wind started suddenly, say, coming out of the south, this would all become the head of the fire, and it would head north. So, we're not out of the woods yet. Today was a great day for everyone involved as far as, that nothing burned. I can't say nothing burned, but I can say that, the potential today was for enormous disaster, and that didn't happen. So, going to run through here real quick. Just go through here pretty quickly because we covered this earlier in our earlier video. There's not a lot of spread around Echo Lake or anywhere on this flank of the fire. So people have been really concerned about heat up around Ralston Peak. And so, and people are worried that the fire could jump through these patches, as we've seen in some other places. Right now, the infrared isn't showing any major spotting here out towards Fallen Leaf Lake. As we talked about earlier today, we expect the fire is going to continue to burn upslope out of here, just because we really don't have any topographic features that we can fight fire along here. And we've learned the hard way that putting firefighters up canyon from an active forest fire is a really good way to kill people. So something we don't like to do, and we just don't have a lot of opportunities from the terrain in here to stop the fire from spreading to the south. Coming over here to Kirkwood, really not much change from the last perimeter that we looked at. The fire did make a significant run in the last 24 hours in this direction. As we talked about earlier, these black lines are dozer lines, bulldozer lines. And so there's been firing over the past couple of days on this flank of the fire using bulldozer lines and the Mormon Emigrant Trail. Before we get over there, just real quick, you'll see this area here that is unburned in a sea of burned forest. This is the Caples Prescribed Burning Project that occurred 2 years ago. We talked about a little bit about how that was controversial because they temporarily lost control of the prescribed burn, and people were upset and wanted to use it as a excuse to blame the Forest Service for not being able to do anything right. But what they did right was, hey, that didn't burn. We've got trees in there still, surrounded by a burned forest. The prescribed fire didn't burn. Coming around here, this is Highway 88 across the bottom of the screen, and the Mormon Emigrant Trail runs this way. It looks like there's some spotting outside of the firing operation there, and so that's a challenge. All it takes is a little bit of spot fire outside your fire to compromise the whole operation. But coming out here, it looks like this entire flank is pretty much secured. We've got dozer line. There's a little fire over the dozer line here, but that doesn't mean that it's uncontained. In general, this flank of the fire has been behaving itself pretty well. It's been a lower priority, mainly, as we mentioned before, because air tankers were able to work in here in clear air when a lot of the smoke was heading to the north. So we're looking kind of to the west here. Coming around to the west end of the fire, Somerset, Pleasant Valley, E16. This end of the fire hasn't moved for several days here in the Middle Fork and Sumnes. Over here in Camp Creek, there's some activity today that I heard about. The fire, some parts of the fire were still a little bit active here in this creek, which I don't remember the name of, but it sounded like they got a handle on that today. Didn't hear anything today about any new burning here on the Sly Park flank. Coming up towards Whitehall, I did hear that this area of the fire that we've been watching for several days was active this afternoon and potentially caused some problems. For these kinds of updates, there's other people who are working on Twitter that are a lot more blow by blow, and I'm kind of haven't had time to really dig deep into the details of exactly what's going on here. This area was active, and we'll probably have some better mapping of that in the morning. We're heading here up Highway 50 to Kybers. Today, the fire did spread out of the canyon and past the bulldozer lines. There's some worry about the fire moving up towards Wrights Lake, which is up here. There was aircraft work going on here this afternoon. Again, tomorrow morning we'll have some better info on how efforts are going to contain that part of the fire. Coming up past Strawberry, like we covered before, there's not a lot going on here. The granite is a pretty good barrier, and that's all really good news. So that kind of sums up what we know about the fire at 8 p.m. We're also covering the Dixie fire and working on some new features and reports on the website. So check out the lookout.org, and we'll have an updated story there tonight or tomorrow on the Dixie fire. For all you who are evacuated, I hope you can get some rest, and thanks for your support.